let's talk about how to pick the perfect title for your book. Now, as we get into this, I'm going to share a bunch of different ways, but the truth is this. Your title is one of the first things that people hear about your book. It's one of the things that you're going to talk about most often. When someone says, "What's your book about?" You're going to probably tell them what the title is. That's going to be one of the first questions you get. It's going to be one of the first things they see on the cover design. And so picking the right title is so important. And there's typically two types of people when it comes to picking your title. The first group of people are the people that have had the title in their mind from day one. Whether it's an existing course they're turning into a book, whether it's a keynote they're turning into a book, whether it's an idea that they've had forever and they just have always known this is the title of my book. And then there's other people. The other group of people is not really sure about what is the title of their book. And so they go through the process and they have to figure out what the title actually is. And so here's what I'll say to you. If you already know your title, amazing. This video will help you understand what makes it so great, or if you should actually use that as your title. And if you aren't sure what title you should use, this will be really good because it's going to give you a framework of how to pick a great title and know what to look for. All right, so let's get in here. What is the title really all about? Well, the title is really about focusing on what can it do for a reader, right? So when you look at a title, some of the things you really want to make sure your title has is be obvious and straight to the point when applicable. Make it memorable. Make it short. Make it intriguing. Focus on a big takeaway or a big concept from the book. And fancy isn't always better. Okay, sometimes it's better to just keep it simple and easy to understand. So what I always like to think about is make it memorable. If you tell somebody what the book title is, or even what the book subtitle is, which we'll talk about another time, but if you tell somebody at a party what the book title is, are they going to remember it a week later after a couple of drinks? If not, it might be too confusing. If yes, you've created that intrigue, you've created it memorable. So I love the idea of creating interesting titles. Now, I'm one of those people that's under the belief that titles can be fun. Titles can be exciting. Titles can create transformations. Titles can be a representation of your personality. Titles can be a representation of what are your big concepts in the book, but you want to try to keep it as clear as possible. Okay. And if it isn't clear, you're going to want to make sure that you talk about that in your subtitle so that your subtitle title combo is really effective. Okay. So here are some questions that I want you to ask yourself when trying to decide your title. Number one is, what type of brand do you already have or do you want to have? Okay. Depending on the style of brand that you have or that you want to have, you may want to make your book a little more funny. You may want to have a pun on your title. You may want to make it more professional. You may want to make it more corporate. We have somebody who has used a curse word in their title, and that's because they're a no bullshit type of person. We've had people stay away from that because their brand doesn't want to have cursing involved. Okay. We've had people use very direct, punchy, singular words as their title because they want to make a bold statement. We've had people use titles who use the kind of the brand of from here to here. They want to show where their brand takes them. So what type of brand do you have? What type of brand do you want to have? A second question to ask yourself is, do you want the title to be a direct representation or extension of your existing business? Here's what I mean by this. Do you have a course? Do you have a coaching program? Do you have a keynote that you want to turn into your book? For example, Big Idea to Bestseller was a business, was a program before it became the book. And so when I wrote the book on this topic, I made the title directly the same as everything else. There are pros to this and there are cons to this, but the big pro that I really liked is I wanted everything to be have complete synergy. So there was no confusion that I was the Big Idea to Bestseller guy. We have the book on it. We have the coaching program on it. We have the handouts on it. We have everything. And so when you type Big Idea to Bestseller in, you're going to find me over and over again. Okay. Another way to think about it is there a phrase that you always use? All right. Is there a phrase that you always use? This can be something that helps with titles because it's powerful. Sometimes it may not be a title, but it could become a tagline. But is there a phrase that you use? Do you already have an existing product or service that has a name that could be good for the book for cohesiveness? A question that I would ask you as well is, do you want this title to spark a new business? Okay. Do you want this title to spark something new? And so for one of our clients who we've helped create the title, their title is Boost. And this is going to start his new business. He has the brand. He wants to be bold. He wants to be straightforward. And it's Boost. We're going to that next level. And so now he can create an entire brand around the word Boost and move forward. All right. Another question to think about when trying to select your title is, do you want to leave room for a series or even multiple books leveraging the same concept? So here's an example of what I mean by this. When I created the book, Elevate Your Network, I had the idea that I could talk about elevate your network, elevate your leadership, elevate your skills, elevate your communication. Whatever it was, I could have created an entire sequence around that. All right. We have clients that have created books, The Empowered Athlete. Well, maybe she wants to create a book for the empowered parent, the empowered leader. There are a lot of things. She leaves room open for multiple books. The communicator's playbook. Well, it could be the leader's playbook, the dentist's playbook, right? There could be so many different things that you can do to create a series around your title by leveraging keywords that are either identity focused or like adjective or action focused, where you're telling them what to do, right? In my case, it was elevate. In other people's case, it's the identity, the empowered athlete, the identity, the empowered leader. Okay, so you can have a series with the right title, or leave it open to really become known around that. And then the last question I ask yourself is, do you want to create a title that allows you to be known for one thing, right? When you write a great book and the title is really memorable, you can be known for one word, one phrase, one thing, right? Simon Sinek, Start With Why. He's got other books, but he is the why guy. When you think of why and finding your why, you think of Simon Sinek. When I wrote my first 3 books, Elevate Beyond, Elevate Your Network, The Elevated Entrepreneur, people saw me as the Elevate guy. I had hats that said Elevate. So I made my titles around a brand, right? I became known for that one thing. So those are some questions to ask yourself that might help you identify what types of titles you want to go with. What types of style do you want to have in your title? All right. And so now let's talk about kind of how we can pick the actual title for your book. So the first thing that I want you to do is, once you've asked yourself all these questions, I want you to go back to your intention. Why are you writing this book in the first place? What is the purpose here? Okay. Then I want you to think about your audience's needs, your audience's challenges, your audience's desires, and ultimately the outcome you want your readers to have. By doing this, you're going to really, really understand your audience, what they like, what they dislike, what they're challenging with, where they want to go. And then you're going to think about your brand and your messaging. And you're going to come up with a bunch of different keywords or phrases that can be used to help your ideal reader get the result you aim to help them achieve in the book. Okay? And then I want you to make a list of 10 to 15 different book title ideas. Some of these will be garbage. Some of these will be different ways of saying the same thing. Some of these will be more funny. Some of these will be more professional. Some of these will be bolder. Some of these will be more explained. Okay? And then once you've kind of dialed that in, I want you to do a search. Search on Amazon and search on Google. On Amazon, are there a lot of other titles using the same title? Now, there's nothing against having the same title as somebody else, but I wouldn't encourage you to use the same title as a very popular book or a very recent book. But if somebody posted a book with your title and they did it in 2014, they have 2 reviews and their sales ranking is like 3 million, well, you don't really have to worry about that much, because you're not going to be competing at the same level, okay? But I wouldn't create a book called the Bible, because that's going to be very hard for you to be known as the author of the Bible, right? You could, but I wouldn't encourage you to do that. Then I want you to search Google. And when you search Google, I want you to identify what comes up when you type in your title. Does anything come up? Does a lot of stuff come up? And kind of see, could I see myself fitting in right there? Okay, we've had people who have unbelievable title ideas, and then they look and somebody hasn't written a book yet, but they've trademarked this entire business. They have complete legal ownership of kind of this concept. And not that you can copyright your title, but it would be very hard for this person to outrank them in a lot of ways. And it might not be worth competing with somebody who's built a 10-year reputation around one exact phrase, word, or concept. Okay, so there's not an exact science to this, but there are ways to start thinking about it. Now, once you've done this, I want you to pick your top 2 to 4 title ideas that feel really great. Okay. Now, one of the things that we do for our clients is that we have specific title workshops to really go over titles, to really flush them out, and to really make sure that it feels good, that people are excited about it. But if you work with us, and even if you don't, what I encourage you to do is take those top 2 to 4 titles and post them on social media and get feedback. Now, part of the reason that I encourage people to do this is, one, including your audience along the journey. This is a great way to make your audience feel included, while also at the same time planting the seed that you're writing your book and that they're going to want to buy it, right? But here's the really, really important piece with this. When you post it onto social media, just like if you post your subtitle for feedback or if you post your cover design for feedback, it's really, really important that you don't weigh everybody's opinion the same. And here's why. You are writing a book for a specific type of person. So if you're writing a book to help new moms, well, the opinion of a dad with a son that's 30 or a single person in their 20s, a single male in their 20s, they're not as into what your book is all about. So their opinion might not be as relevant. So I always like to do it. I like to do it 2 ways. I like to get a bunch of feedback just in general to see if one title completely outweighs the other. But then what I like to do is I like to kind of look, and if you use Instagram or a different poll feature or even a direct ask to 10, 15 people, you can find out very quickly, well, does everybody in my target market feel one way? And if you have both the consensus as well as your ideal market giving the same feedback, you're likely on the right track. You know, Alex Hormozi, for example, when he came out with his second book, $100 Million Leads, or whatever the title is, I think that's it, he did a bunch of different tests to see what people preferred. And that helped him understand, well, hey, my book is for people getting results. So I want to make sure that their opinions are heard. I want to make sure that the title resonates with what they want, not what I think that they want. And so this is a really, really great way to get some feedback, talk about your book, but also to keep in mind who you need to be listening to and at what rate, right? And so the last thing, once you kind of get that winner, I want you to take the top choice. I want you to say it out loud a few times. And I want you to just, does it flow? Do you like it? Does it capture the essence of the book? Does it feel good? Are you excited to say it? Okay, because remember, you're going to say your title over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, and so you really want to make sure you have a great title that supports you. So let me give you a couple titles as an example here, and then we will wrap up with this. Title 1 is Big Idea to Bestseller. This is a title that's powerful. It's easy to remember, but also this takes on the style of from here to here. Big idea is where you're starting, all the way to bestseller. That's where you're finishing. That's where the book's going to cover. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. That's incredibly intriguing. It turns your head. You're like, wait, what? The 4-Hour Workweek. That was wild. It built polarity, which was great. Some people were like, no, I hate this. Some people were like, oh my God, I need this. Atomic Habits. It has multiple different meanings to it. Atomic can mean massive, massive. So you're making massive habits and change. Atomic could also mean atoms, very, very small things that if you do it repeatedly, aka habits, you will see results. So it's great use of the word atomic when it comes to the idea of habits. One of our clients wrote a book called Banking on Angels. Well, it makes sense. You're banking on angels. Banking has multiple meanings, but also the author of this book was a former VP and an investment banker. So he was able to tie in his past with what his current present is and his future of the book, Banking on Angels. I thought that was a really great way to tie in his past while also using a double meaning for the word banking. Okay. And then another book that one of our clients did is Limitless Real Estate Strategies. That is super clear. It's super direct. His brand is limitless. So he's got that dialed in there. And then real estate strategies. As many real estate strategies, there's limitless options. And his book is all about creatively adding wealth through real estate. All right. That's amazing, right? So those are how you're going to find your title, what a title needs to include, how to validate your title, and a bunch of other things you need to know about how to select the perfect title for your nonfiction book. Now, if you enjoyed this, and you want to learn more about the book process, you want to learn more about all the different things you need to go from big idea to bestseller, then text me the word free to 661-669-7363, and I'll give you a free copy of my best-selling book, Big Idea to Bestseller. That's text the word free to 661-669-7363.